In this video, we will go over the steps of a TEMPORISE match, find out how to easily count your scores by playing without needing a third person, and discuss a couple of remaining rules. If you aren't yet familiar with TEMPORISE, be sure to watch the first part, where the basics of the game are explained. You shouldn't worry about score counting until you get used to the game. Play at least 1 or 2 songs before you start doing it. It's important to know that this isn't a competitive rule set, so some things aren't determined by the rules, instead you all have to agree on it. For example, what music you're allowed to choose. Before the match, agree on a minimum and a maximum BPM. BPM is short for beats per minute, which is the measurement for the tempo of music. You can search for a given song's BPM on the net, there are multiple websites for this. The BPM can change within a single song, so in these cases look for either the fastest or the predominantly used BPM. After you've limited the starting BPM, decide who chooses music first with rock, paper, scissors. To fit these limits, the music's BPM can be effectively halved by only playing to every other beat. Similarly, it can be doubled, quartered, etc. Only choose songs that both players are fine with. For example, one player may only want to play in 4/4. You should also discuss the rhythm you're gonna play in. It's possible to choose a different rhythm from the music rather than just following its pulse. This includes determining which beats you can snap on. At the beginning of songs, both players start on the middle tile of their back rows. During the first 2 bars, you can only use steps and no other moves. Some songs have a distinguishable intro segment, where players may decide that this applies to the whole intro, not just the first 2 bars. During a match, you can count your score the following way. Take the hand that you don't use for the game and place it by the side of your grid, behind the back row, on an imaginary new row. When you gain or lose a point, count it on your fingers until you get to 5. When you get your 6th point, turn your hand over and continue from 6 to 10. After you reach 10 points, turn your hand down and start over, but move your hand forward so that it lines up with the edge of your grid. You move to the next row or line between rows after every 10 points you get. 10, 20, 30, 40. If you manage to count to 10 on your front row, having scored a total of 50 points, the match ends and you win the game. This is signaled by a final snapping down of your hand. If both players get to 50 points at the same time by snapping, the game goes on until only one of them gets a point. That player wins the game. If your current score is a multiple of 10, so your hand is turned down in a fist like this, when you get hit while snapping, you don't lose a point like you normally would. If a player makes an illegal move, all score changes on their error's beat and the beat after become invalid. So whatever the players did, neither of them gains or loses any points. Here, for example, my second quick attack was illegal since the first one didn't score a point and I should have stepped in place after. The points that were missed because of the error aren't given back, but 5 points are deducted from the player who made the illegal move. This can be easily tracked by flipping your hand and moving it back if it was facing downward. The player's score cannot fall below 0 as a result of this deduction. On the beat following the 2 beats without score changes, both players can continue from any tile with any move. If someone makes 3 errors during a match, they lose the game. If the song ends and neither player reached 50 points, the game continues with their current scores. The other player gets to choose the music, which has to have a higher BPM by at least 10, raising the tempo. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer. To avoid any confusion, I'll say that in the gameplay scene in the background and on the channel, the score counting is shifted forward by a tile in order for it to fit on the screen. If you'd like to see more of the game, I recommend watching these videos. Have fun playing TEMPORISE!